Okay,
And
that's good. And I got it. I got the message. So I guess we are up. Everybody good? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, good. First off, let's, you got the agenda. I hope everybody did by email, and also a set of minutes from the last meeting.
Yep.
So if we could have a motion, unless somebody has a change in the minutes for the last meeting, if you could make a motion to approve them.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes for the January Fair Access Committee meeting.
So a second?
I'll second the motion.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
On the agenda originally, and I didn't get any other items, I asked you guys if you had anything, so please feel free, if you got something else to raise it, please do. I'm not trying to make these ironclad agendas here. I'd like to hold off on the Weiss Ferry issue because Jim has been doing some work on that. I'd like him to come in and talk about it if there's anything happening from his end. So let's forgo that for just a minute. On Dr. McKnight, I think all of you saw we did a quick release. I actually sent it around to all the Board of Education members and the superintendent. I got a couple of nice notes back, actually one from the head of the Board of Education president saying, we agree with you that she's more than well qualified and thank you for the note or something. So I think that was a good thing to do. The only other thing I wanted to ask you guys at some point, she's going to be really busy right now. So not right now, I think it's not a good time, but when the school season, Susan, when summer hits and school's out, I wonder if it wouldn't be a good idea to try to schedule a meeting with her. She's not going to have a few months under her belt, but she's also been in the role for a while. Last year, I did set up, actually we had a meeting set up with her, but it got canceled twice. And she said she didn't want to meet with us and get to know us. So I would think like in June or July, it might be good to try to set up a meeting with her unless you guys disagree. So
No, I agree. And
Yeah, I
I guess
agree.
you could,
I think June might be better because once July 1 kicks in, it's full throttle.
okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll wait for a while, but let's say March, April. And certainly, Ed, if you want to reach out to her, because I know you know her. I don't know her. She knows who we are, but
Sometimes that works to our advantage.
yeah, maybe. Maybe.
Look, by the time I catch up with her, she's gonna be super busy and shielded.
Yeah.
Right. So I think it's good though to go through.
Okay.
And get as many people as possible.
All right. I'll probably wait till like March or so, but March, April, and then I'll try to start setting something up.
But I tell you what, if I run into her and see her, I'll say something to her about it.
Okay. You know what? Thinking about it a little bit more, than maybe if it might be worthwhile to wait till the latter part of April, early May, because by that time the council should have voted on the budget items, and we'll have a better picture for what we want to talk to her about. Because if some items don't get approved, and obviously it's an even more important meeting.
Right. That's a good idea.
Okay. So let's do that. They usually vote on the budget it's usually approved by May something. So we can probably think about May as a good time.
so here's a thought. Like, what if you invite her before that? Because let's say there's bad news.
Yeah.
And if you try to invite her, she'll be like, oh, I know what this is about.
Oh,
So what if we already have her on the calendar?
that's a good point. Yeah, that's a good point. And we probably will have a pretty good sense, because Andrew and Gabe are both, I know, been pretty helpful along the way on the CIP that we've got right now. We probably will have a good sense by April anyway, if they see some trouble down the road. So, okay. So let's, I'll shift a little bit and maybe wait till April. We'll do it sometime in April, hopefully. On the budget, the CIP budget, I think you all know this, but I just want to go over where we are at this point. The budget from the county executive has two items in it that are really helpful to us, obviously. One is remember the $13 million that was going to be transferred from DeFeef. I think that's an addition or expansion of DeFeef School in Gaithersburg. 13 million comes from that project, two pools. So that's actually in the CIP from the county executive. The BOE, as you know, got a recommendation from the staff to add $30 million plus explicitly expanding the gym. That was back in January. That, as far as I know, that hasn't been submitted yet, but it should be submitted. And then finally, the budget also includes in a section on planning a POR for Poolsville Community Center, about $250,000. So all of those are good, obviously good news for us and a lot of progress in many ways. As you know, we sent a letter based on those items to all the council members and the county executive, just reinforcing those points. On the 8th, I testified before the county council, just again, reinforcing those points. Normally at this point, they have a series of hearings on specific agenda items in the subcommittees, everything from health to police and so forth. And then by the April timeframe, they are beginning to coalesce around a budget that they're going to approve. So I think in terms of muster, we might want to wait until we get a better sense of if things are coming together well. If they're not, obviously, we obviously should do something on muster, but even if they're coming together well, it still would be good to send something, but it's probably better to do it when we get a better sense of where the council is going to be, or looks like it's going to be. One thing I should mention too, in the budget context, Andrew said this to me last year when I was talking to him about the high school, that, and I think he mentioned it to all of you. I think you guys might have been on this call. There's a Zoom call with some of us that he briefed us on council issues of that. And I think politics in the county, that was it. He mentioned specifically that there wasn't an initiative, an effort to delay Poolsville High School, even as, we were that close almost to getting it approved. There was an effort even then to delay it. So he kept telling me, you just don't count on anything, even if it looks really good, just get ready and make sure you're on top of it, because there's going to be continuing pressure internally. Now, it may be a little different this year because they do have a fair amount of cash, and the county executive talked about this from the American Rescue Fund. So it may not be as bad as we thought in terms of battling for money, but we'll just have to keep that in mind. But as right now, I don't think a muster would be necessary, but I think at some point in April, we may need to do it. I don't know if there's any other comments on the budget or thoughts. Certainly weigh in. Okay.
No, I don't have any.
The next item is the debate update. We talked in the last meeting, and it's in the minutes, about trying to schedule a debate with the county executive candidates and the council candidates. Jim and I have reached out to all the candidates, and all of them have agreed to appear. The idea that Jim floated, which I like, and we'll see how it goes. The weather may not cooperate, but if it does, it'll be great, is to do a debate in the bandstand. So the county council candidates would be up on the bandstand, and we would have it outside, and people could just bring lawn chairs, and we'll have obviously a sound system and so forth. We would start probably at I would say around 6, because it gets dark at that time of year about 8 o'clock. So if we started at 6, we could go on an hour and a half, and by 7:30 it would still be light. All of them seemed really enthusiastic about it. As you know, Mark Elrich actually came out, and some of you were there because you were participating in the distribution of test kits that we did 2 weeks ago. He was actually there, and it was great. And we got some pictures and so forth. He talked to us a bunch of us afterwards, and we mentioned this to him, and he was really enthusiastic about it. So I think that's in the works. I think we're in pretty good shape on it. We're going to need help, obviously, planning for it and help getting it together, like getting chairs out and things like that. But we got time for that. But that looks like it's pretty well set. So
Link, is that the date, May 22? Because that's a Sunday.
Yeah, it is, and they all liked it because they don't have a lot of candid. They both all said we don't have a lot of, a lot of evening things on Sunday usually, so they were happy with it. So
okay,
yeah,
it'll be interesting from a media perspective. We may get some of the TV crews to come out on a Sunday evening, but certainly skeleton crews more than ever, with media on the weekends.
Right, I'm sure it is.
Hey, Link, I had an idea.
Go ahead.
I was thinking for a moderator, what if we ask Sunil to moderate? He's been doing candidate forums on his podcast, and he's had Blair and some folks, and he has a good number of subscribers. And on a county as a whole. And I was just thinking to bring us to a county level. Maybe instead of just having one of us local people moderate, just a thought.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Yeah, he just sent me an email the other day about whether he's going to run or not for county school board. So,
Oh, okay.
it sounded like he's still kind of up in the air. It didn't sound like he was really going to do it, but that's a good thought though. He's well spoken to. I've listened to his podcast, so
Yeah,
and he knows the issues pretty well. So
I don't know if you listened to this podcast with David Blair, but it was like a cat playing with a little mouse. So Neil I wouldn't want him to play with people too much, and we got to keep our questions to our area.
Yeah.
But just a thought to broaden the listening audience for the debate or for the forum. One way to do that
that might be the only issue I can think of, Kevin, is that he's not from our area, and some people might be a little bit put off by that. Not that he's obviously not helpful to us and hasn't been supportive, but I wonder if we can just make sure he knows about it and see if he will be willing to have it be one of his podcast sessions and actually attend it too.
Yeah. And then maybe I like both ideas, but what I think about it, if we could maybe have somebody local that could moderate, that would probably, be a good thing.
Well, I'm certainly happy to have anybody on this committee who wants to moderate, who I know all of you could do a good job. I'm happy to have anybody do it, but.
Hey, Link, I was even asking about you moderating.
Well,
how you feel about that?
I'm happy to do it. I just want to spread the work too. If people want to do it, I don't want to cut anybody off. Lynn and Maria both, I know, are well spoken and could do it if they wanted to. So
either one of them would do a great job also.
Yeah.
But my thinking is Fair Access is sponsoring it, and then if we have either you or we have a member of the Fair Access, Lynn and Maria, but either one of them, we'd be great at it.
That's right. I think we should.
Well, Lynn or Maria, if you want to think about it, you don't have to decide now. We got time, but there's a lot of questions that have started coming into my mind that are not just about school. There's a lot of things that are going on that would be good to have county executive candidates discuss. And so I think there's a lot of fertile ground out there. But if you guys, either one of you are interested, let me know.
Also, I don't know if you remember our school board forum we had.
Yeah.
Jennifer Preston Singh did a really good job of moderating.
She did. Yeah, that was a good debate.
So that's something to think about.
And then when did we say which day those running for county council?
We haven't set that one yet, but I talked to both William Roberts, he's the candidate from Clarksburg, and Maryland. Both of them said April would be good sometime. So, and that one probably, I would suspect by that point, we could probably do it in town hall.
Okay.
So again, somebody from our committee could moderate that one.
Yeah.
And do you know William? Ed, I thought, Ed, you knew William Roberts.
I know him. We've met over at Locals. He was at an event that was there.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that, I don't know him that well.
Yeah.
But also I was wondering, when's the last day for people to file? Because I think there might be someone else that lives in Germantown who might be, or Clarksburg, who might be adding their name.
Yeah. I have to look at that. I don't know when it is. The primary is actually in June, so I would expect it's got to be sometime in March, April, I would think, but I don't know.
Yeah, it should close soon. So my recommendation is that we move forward, but if we, when we hear about a candidate who wants to jump in the race, then we give them the opportunity. But I think if the other two candidates can agree on whatever date we give them, then whoever else jumps in after the fact, we can provide them the opportunity, but we won't change it for their schedule because we've already been planning.
Right. No, that's a good point. All right. All right. So that's what those are. The other possible debate, which I've talked to David Griffith about, and I think obviously we need to let them take the lead on it, is the Board of Education too. And he's thinking about it. He's going to talk to his board and get back to me, but he certainly welcomed us being a co-sponsor. And that one they would take the lead on. I'm not sure how the format would work or anything at this point, but so I'll keep you advised on that as I hear more. I put groundbreaking ceremony on here. I had a couple of exchanges with David about that for the high school. The one of the responses that he got back from MCPS was that our school is not a brand new school, so it's in a sense it's like an addition, is what they were saying. So they were kind of downplaying the idea or the need for a groundbreaking. I don't know how these things work, how these get started, but I did get a note from Shebra Evans who said she was really looking forward to a groundbreaking. So I assume the BOE would be very happy to come out for it and be a great opportunity. And I think the community actually deserves a groundbreaking for all the time we spent on this and the delays we've had and everything else. I think that it would be great, just a good boost for the community to have one. So Ed, you might know more than I do about how MCPS gets these things off the ground. Is that a principal is that something the principal really takes a lead on?
Yeah, I think that you have as a combination, you're going to have the principal. They got to go through the MCPS stuff. But I think if the principal, if Carruthers and Pete and David, they all work together.
Right.
And then David, then of course they keep us in the loop as well.
Right.
Yeah. And I think probably before they do anything, we want to make sure everything is set in stone. So,
yeah, you're right. I mean, obviously we can't do anything. We don't have the budget all approved, so we still got some time on that.
Yeah.
All right. I put on here an idea that I kicked around a little bit with Laura and with Jim, and it came to me when I was driving the other day because when I was in Verizon, we had an award that we gave every year to members of Congress. It was, I forgot what we called it now. It was a technology leader award of some type. A lot of groups do that. But I thought in our case, it might be neat to initiate something. I'm just calling it Champion of Fair Access, but an annual award that would do two things. One is we could obviously highlight and congratulate and acknowledge somebody who's been very helpful. And, you know, Andrew Friedson has been so helpful to us, and obviously he won't be our council member anymore, but it'd be great to kind of give him sort of a swan song award just for being so helpful. But I also thought it might be a nice thing to incorporate into our pools all day, having an award to give at that breakfast to some member of the council or board of education or whoever we decide who's been really supportive of our area in the previous year. So I wanted to just throw that out there. I think to do it right, we would need some guidelines, you know, some ways to judge who would be candidates for this. But I just thought it was a neat way to highlight, again, some of our issues and get some folks who have been helpful to understand how supportive we are of what they've done.
That's brilliant. Love that idea. Like, and that, yeah, it'll make other people envious.
Maybe.
Like, I can see Hidalgo being like, how come I didn't get the award?
That's true.
You know, like I was helping with Weiss Ferry. How come I'm not?
Well,
and we could say, well, we would have, like you said, we'd have just like we do with Grand Marshal, we have a policy in place, like how we've come upon award. We didn't just Jiminy Cricket pick someone out of the grass.
Right.
There was a reason, you know, longevity of support and the type of support that they provided. Yeah.
And I thought, given our logo, maybe that people now actually know, maybe there's some way to make that into some kind of a, you know, an award that you could give a statue or something that would maybe just have that, our logo in some way incorporated in it. I don't know, just to reinforce. So, well, we got a little time till the Pools All Day breakfast, obviously. And so give that some thought too. And if you have any ideas about it yourself, that would be great. Meanwhile, I'll work with Laura, maybe come up with some ideas on what the name should be and what the criteria might be for how we would judge who ought to get the award. So, but honestly, given where we are today and how he got here. I think in many ways, Andrew is kind of a natural, really. I mean, he worked on Weiss Ferry too, obviously, not just the school, but he's worked on a lot of things. And I know, as I said, that anecdote he told me about the battles that he had to fight to keep the school from being delayed, that, you know, that took a lot of effort on his part, and he used political capital to do that. So I think he deserves recognition, but don't want to jump the gun on it.
Yeah, the only thing, like I said, we just have to keep in mind what the consequences of it would be.
Yeah.
And if the recognition is worth the consequence. My first reaction is yes.
Yeah. Oh, you mean other people asking why they didn't get it? Yeah. Well,
yeah, like Sheila Evans or Brenda Wolf or
yeah.
Hidalgo, you know, those folks. Like,
no reason why you only have to have one. You can have several. Obviously, there's several. I would think it's a possibility.
Well, I would just do one. I would do one, and they can aspire to get the next year's award.
You know, I like one. We don't got enough trophies for everybody to get a trophy, but I think that we establish the criteria that we would use, and then based on whatever criteria we develop, and then we see who meets that criteria. But so that the award itself has value because it's attached to criteria and not just a token of appreciation.
No, that's a good point. It's not just a political award.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, that's good thoughts. One thing I wanted to ask about, Ed, too, is that you can tell us where we are in this. I think I had an exchange with Seth about the schools, the school, and the fact that the school system has come up with and I didn't hear all the details. I just heard a little bit about it when I was testifying before the Board of Education, an environmental policy of some type that was supposed to be built around, I think, improving school buildings and making them better green buildings, so to speak. He was talking about it when I was just after I finished. And so I sent him a note afterwards saying it sounded to me like that was something that Poolsville High School would be a natural for, since it's a new building, or will be almost new building. And we have a global ecology program, and there's a sustainable Poolsville committee here too. And so we got a lot of people in the environmental space who are really knowledgeable. He immediately said, "This is great. I'd love to talk to the folks." And I said, "Well, Ed Reed's the guy you I talked to, but I don't know if you've had a chance to connect with him or not."
Yeah, and I'm gonna do a follow-up email. I guess I'll do a call over there too. I haven't gotten back.
Yeah.
I haven't received any of my correspondence, haven't been responded to.
Yeah.
And then I did mention it to Carruthers.
Right.
And so I think that's something that we could probably, definitely is something that could be done.
Yeah.
I think we can be inclusive with the students and then members of the community.
Yeah.
Because it would be great.
I think that's a great opportunity, and it would be some good press for the area too if we got like a consultative process going with the school system as they built the building.
And I think it'd be a good experience for the kids.
Yeah,
also,
absolutely.
right. So
yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah.
Good experience.
Okay.
All right, so by the next meeting, hopefully I would have chased Seth down and be able to catch up with him.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. Not beating on you. I just wanted to make sure that
it's
didn't
good.
lose the thread. So.
Yep. Okay.
Good. I did want to mention one other thing, and if I know this doesn't, everybody's budget, everybody's time is probably not good for this, but it really just turned out this is the best time. Gabe Albernaz is agreed to do a Zoom call with the committee. I've forgotten the time now, but it's in the afternoon. I'll send you the email I sent out again, just so you got it. I think it was 2:30 on the 22nd of February. I haven't done an agenda yet, but I'll start putting one together. And if you guys have thoughts on what needs to be added to it, or anything like that, that'd be great. The way this got started in part was Gabe again came out, and when you think about how we do our work, it really is illustrative that those test kit distributions turned out to be such great opportunities, because in all those cases, I reached out to council members like Gabe and said, hey, there's a, test kit distribution going on out here. I think our community is unique in the way we're doing it. There's a lot of volunteers out here. It's very efficient. Our library's closed, so we had to come up with an alternative. The county worked with us. It's been really phenomenal. And he said right away, yeah, I want to come out. So he came out. And during that conversation with him about the test kit distribution, we started talking about things like the community center and wellness center. And in both cases, he said he really wanted to talk further about them. So that's part of the reason for this call, is to kind of talk about those issues. And we can also, of course, at that point, reinforce the budget issues for the school and so forth. And there are other items too that you may think of that I haven't thought of. But it's a great opportunity. He's the president of the council now. So, for the next year, we've got him in a place where he can really be helpful to us. And so we're looking forward to that. The final thing is, I don't know if Jim's going to join us in time or not, but I wanted to quickly touch base on Weiss Ferry. As you know, there was a study done supported by both the Montgomery County and Loudoun County in the states, Virginia and Maryland, on Weiss Ferry. It was released back in November, and then there were hearings, and I testified both in the Montgomery County Council and in Loudoun County. And since then, the hope was that there was going to be some work behind the scenes, primarily by the Department of Transportation in Virginia, but also working with our Department of Transportation to try to come up with a solution to the Weiss Ferry problem. It was pretty clear when I testified that even though there was some talk about eminent domain, it didn't look to me like, and I think that's still true today, that eminent domain had enough political strength to be able to be a possible solution. So what we did, as you know, is we drafted a letter, and it was signed by us, the commissioners, and by the Poolesville Area Chamber of Commerce, and it was sent to county leaders in both Montgomery and Loudoun. We did not make a big deal about it. We didn't do any press or anything like that, or make a real public notice about it, in part because we were asked to just low key it at this point and let the Department of Transportation in Virginia in particular, which has to work with the Virginia landowner, to try to work through some things and come up with hopefully a solution. I've been in constant contact since then with Hannah Henn, who's one of the deputies in the DOT and a very smart and very helpful person. She's really been trying, I know, behind the scenes. But Montgomery County and Maryland can't really force Virginia to do anything. They've got to work with them. I've had several calls with her, and I think it's best to say that they were positive, that she thought the DOT was working hard on the Virginia side, and she was hopeful that there was going to be progress. But in the last few weeks, from what I can tell, there hasn't been a lot going on. At least I haven't been able to get anything about it. So at this point, I'm not sure where we are. I'm hoping that we can reach out to a couple of the leaders, and Jim may be able to help with this on the Virginia side, and just get a better picture of where things are. But right now, we just don't know. So I'm hoping that we'll get better clarification on this in a week or so, because, it's been now 3 months since the study came out, and it's been a year and a half, or almost a year and a quarter anyway, since the ferry closed. And, at some point we just can't be silent forever. I think at some point we have to speak up and say, look, it's really affected us, and it's gone on for so long. Now something has to give. So I don't know what else to tell you at this point. It's nothing else public that I can say, because there's just not a lot of detail, but that's where we are as far as I can tell at this point. So anybody have any reactions or any thoughts?
Yeah, I think for the Virginia side, I think we got to be able to point out the benefits for the Virginia side, because the Virginia side is not going to really care about the hurt or benefits on the Maryland side. So they're going to look at what's the benefits, and really maybe being able to highlight and amplify the benefits on their side, because those who have the power to make it happen have to see benefits for why they should exercise those options.
Yeah, that's the sticky point, Ed, because when you look at the number of cars per day that you're talking about, it's around 800. So, and a lot of those, as you know, are commuters. And so thinking about it from a Loudoun County perspective, you've got Target, Costco, places like that people from here may go over and shop in, but it's a drop in the bucket. So from that standpoint, I don't see that they can readily see a big impact on their daily lives in many ways. I think the area we might have some possibilities, and I just don't know where to go with it because I haven't been able to find anything in this area, is people that are commuting from Loudoun County, like for example, to Montgomery County or other places where they need to get across the river to commute. Right. That I would be good, but I have not been able to find any citizens groups or anything like that that are really engaged in this at least from where I sit. So
I'm just thinking about that traffic on the folks in that area. Maybe it's the traffic congestion that happens.
Yeah, that's possible. Anyway, if you guys got thoughts about what else we can do, let us know. But I think the letter, in many ways, the letter was helpful. Even though it didn't go public, obviously we kept it, we low-keyed it. It did stimulate the DOT on our side to engage a lot more. I know that. And it even encouraged some discussions on the Virginia side with some leaders in the state. So, it did help. But so far, we haven't seen any evidence that anything specific is being done at this point. Maybe it is, and we just don't know. And hopefully we'll hear something.
Hey,
so,
Nick.
Yeah.
So this whole controversy is all about money.
Right.
And the family on the Virginia side is not getting any money. And they're not going to get money if the fair doesn't reopen. Right?
Right.
So, and I know Kuhn has tried to negotiate or not negotiate, and other people tried to. Would it be stupid for us to ask for a meeting with the Virginia side family? Not an open meeting, but a closed meeting.
I was actually just thinking that same thing, Kevin, and I think that we're at that point now. I mean, it wouldn't hurt anything.
Because our side has only reached out with Kuhn and the was it the Brown family?
Well, I mean, technically that forum that we had was open to the public. And of course there was that back and forth regarding they didn't invite us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think maybe a closed meeting to get both, have a discussion.
Yeah, because really we haven't one-to-one. We've had one-to-ones with Chuck Kuhn. We've had one-to-ones with the original owners of Weiss Ferry, but we haven't had one-to-ones with, what is it, Miss Darby? Is that the name of the lady who owns across the street, across the river?
Devlin.
And because it's not serving their purpose, because their whole goal was to get more money out of their land, and they're not going to get it if nothing's done.
I think where it gets sticky is that the DOT on the Virginia side, again, I don't know a lot, but I do know that the DOT on that side has been trying to come up with an approach to work with the Virginia landowner to resolve it, whether that means an easement that they're trying to negotiate or outright purchase of land. I don't know what the specific mechanism is, but I know they're talking to her. And so I worry that if, we did anything like that, it would probably, at a minimum, it would raise the ire of people in the Virginia DOT in particular who have been trying to work this thing through. So
you're thinking there's potential interference.
Yeah. And, again, the other thing is, what do we offer? I mean, we don't have any, we can't really say we're going to be able to do anything financially to help the situation from her standpoint. So
right.
All we would do is we would learn something maybe about what her concerns are, but some of that, just in the public positioning that both sides have taken. So at this point, the bottom line from my standpoint is that both Chuck and Devlin just don't want to deal with each other. So that's why I think the DOT folks in Virginia, I think, are trying to use their good offices to see if they can't come up with some kind of solution. And I don't want to leave it as if our DOT is not, one of the things that I know that they've looked at are alternative mechanisms that, for example, subsidies of some kind that might be doable. I think the only reason any of those things have not been proposed is because they are waiting for or trying to see if DOT on the Virginia side can't work something out. So, Jim and I were talking about maybe having to go more public with our letter and trying to, again, not being in a negative way, just saying, we are really suffering here. It's been a long time. We need to resolve this. Here's some ideas we have. Can we take these out and start trying to work on them? Now, I've heard, and I'm not surprised at all that these ideas are not new. Of course they're not. I'm sure that a lot of these ideas have been proposed and kicked around, but highlighting them again and saying, isn't it time now to try to get our hands dirty and really make one of these things work? That may be possible. I don't know if it'll help or not, but at this point, honestly, we don't have a lot of cards in my view. So,
well, so yeah, that kind of is my point, is maybe one of our cards, because we've kind of been putting the Devlin family on the outs and saying, oh, they're greedy. They keep wanting to up the price or not fairly negotiate. And that's what Chuck is saying. What if we try and call a meeting with her and say, what can we do to help make this happen? Because we met with the Brown family on the Montgomery County side. We've met with Chuck Kuhn, but we haven't extended the hand over to the Virginia side family owners to say, hey, you want the ferry open and we want the ferry open. What can fair access do to help? And
in that vein, I think, Kevin, one thing that could be possible and would be maybe productive, it's not for us to do it, but maybe if the commissioners said, we would like to have kind of an update on where things are, have the DOT come in and open it up to other speakers who want to give an update from their perspective. That might even be Devlin if she wants to come. That might be one way to do it. But I think us doing anything in terms of negotiating or even looking like we're negotiating is likely to be viewed in a negative way by a lot of the parties that are trying to work this out right now. So
I wouldn't say us negotiating. I would just say us giving fair and equal access to publicity and to express their viewpoint.
Yeah.
Maybe like, okay, so we've had meetings with our Maryland folks and we feel this way. Can you meet with us? Maybe we're missing something.
Yeah.
Because obviously there's a big divide, and we've really only heard from our side of the folks.
Yeah. All right. Let me think about that. I'm still a little nervous about it just because I know that there's a lot of frustration, and I know among the DOT folks and the Virginia folks about, where this thing is at this point. I think they're all, it's frustrating to everybody. I think they're just nervous about not trying to make anybody upset. So I understand that these are negotiations and they're hard to do unless they're not in public. So one of the things that's made this bad is that the negotiating that has taken place, it's almost all been in the press and people backbiting each other after somebody makes an offer. So, and that's not really a good way to solve it. So,
yeah, I would just say as a Poolsville person, someone's going to make the money. I don't care who makes the money. Just make this very accessible.
Yeah. I know.
And make us use it.
That's
right.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in our letter, we had two options that both of which, like I said, people have told me have been kicked around, but I do think they could jumpstart stuff. Now, the second option, for example, of paying 50 cents a car, which they said they wanted, obviously their offer, if you look at it, which he initially proposed, and I read that, it's actually more than 50 cents. It's actually some other things too, but that's the central part of it. If you look at that and say, why can't we just provide a subsidy for a couple of years to jumpstart this? And during that 2-year period, or whatever you want to say, 6 months, ongoing negotiations and work will be done to try to really resolve it once and for all. It would be to the benefit of both parties to some degree, because obviously the Virginia folks would be getting some money. Chuck Kuhn would get to get the ferry up and running again, which he said he wanted. And obviously he didn't want to negotiate directly with the landowner of Virginia. I think they just didn't get along. So he wouldn't have to do that. He could run the ferry and not have to worry about that piece. I think it has a lot of potential. It's just that I'm not sure anybody at this point has gone that far. So how we get that kind of thing on the table, I don't know. I haven't got any brilliant ideas, honestly.
But I guess our main goal then is to just keep this on the forefront and keep it an issue.
Yeah. Somehow the urgency, it still doesn't look like it's enough of an urgent issue. I agree. And that one is hard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ed's right. It would be really great if we had a lot more evidence on the Virginia side that people are upset about it too and wanted to see this resolved. And to date, I just haven't seen a lot of that. I'm not that there's some people aren't affected. They certainly are, and I know that a couple of businesses have even spoken up. Like that, there's a brewery over there that mentioned specifically in one of the Washington Post articles that they were losing customers because of it. So, some of those businesses are being affected.
Here's the other piece to take consideration is that within the next couple of months, when it gets warmer and those COVID rates continue to go down, you'll have more people who will venture out and want to do things. And, different businesses are going to want to have more foot traffic. All right. And so I think that's something to look at too, how that impacts, you open your doors and you want to get that foot traffic in, but folks don't find you convenient to get to. And then you remove the excuse of the, because of COVID, you can't do this and you can't do that. So
that's actually an interesting angle, Ed, because I haven't thought about, like, there might be biking clubs, for example, or hiking clubs or natural resource clubs or outdoor clubs that have people that really do care about this because they use it all the time. And maybe they would be, as you said, as the weather gets warmer, they really want to get back out there and go across the ferry and do, go on the C&L Canal and vice versa, come over to Virginia. And maybe those are the kind of people I don't know who they are, but maybe we could reach out to some of those groups.
Yeah. So, all right.
Now, let me do some research on that. Might be a good angle too. All right. Well, I'm sorry. There's not a lot more I can tell you at this point. And Jim may have actually had some luck in terms of reaching out, but if he did, we can find out and I'll let you know. Any media updates, Laura, that you wanted to mention?
We've been doing social posts specific to the budget testimony, and that's really been the latest. Just some social and taking any cues if we need to reach out to the media. I know Sunil was mentioned earlier. If anyone is having conversations with him, we have been trying to get on his podcast as a topic just to, keep the important conversations going that are relevant to fair access. So, if he's calling you, Link, it doesn't hurt for you to ask if he has an opening for, fair access committee members to come on and talk about the important issues. But no.
That's a good point.
He did a good interview with Liberty Devlin from the other side.
Yeah, it was good, actually. Yeah. He sent me an email, Laura, about his candidacy. So maybe that's a good point. I'll respond to him and saying, hey, I'd love to give you an overview of what we think we are in fair access and the issues that we think are coming up that are important. One issue in that regard, Ed, I just wanted to mention, you probably saw this, but the wellness center, specifically the issue of mental health, not wellness center per se, but the issue of mental health came up. The Board of Education had a briefing with the council on Tuesday, and I didn't see it yet. I'm trying to get a copy, but apparently it was a pretty well done overview of both security issues and mental health issues for students. But they included, and I've got this, I'll send you the link to it so you can take a look at it, Ed, but it's really informative. There's a section in there with this group of students that they pulled together called SWAG. And they were asked by the council to come up with recommendations. There's a whole section in there on mental health. And when you boil it all down, what they're really saying is that we no longer can treat mental health as just sort of like have a kid go to the counselor once in a while. We've got to make it a basic part of our school management and school processes. It's got to be integrated into what our schools do. And they weren't asking for a wellness center per se, but a lot of what they recommended are going in that direction. You know, more counseling support, more integration of counseling into daily lives of the students, not just counselors being focused on helping you with college and things like that, but really much more on mental health and wellness. So there's a real opportunity there, it seems to me.
I think when we're advocating or pitching for it, is that we talk about some of those underlying things that drive kids to the point where they need that kind of mental health support. And so, because I think a community center, wellness center, we focus on opportunity for youth in this region to have a place where they can get together and participate in participate in social engaging activities, these kinds of things, mentorship programs, all the things that are missing in our region that other communities have. And so we talk about some of the correlations between being isolated and mental health, and why it's so important, and the things that we could do with a community center for kids in this region, and as well as for seniors and other folks. And even if it's something as simple as kids having a place where they could do sports, or kids having a place where they can be engaged in a variety of activities. So if you look at, when we went over to that Scotland Rec Center and we saw the things that they had there, or you look at Rockville, or anywhere throughout the county, the Silver Spring off of Lay Hill Road, it's a huge community center. And so our focus is and there's a report that came out, I would say in December, by the Surgeon General's office about mental health and looking at youth. And there's some things in there about what communities can do. And so I think I was showing that link to the one I showed you and Chuck.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
it's good. It's a good report.
Yeah. And so with I think strategy wise is we all recognize I'm speaking as a school counselor, there's the issue of mental health that needs treatment, but there's also the prevention of things that can be done in a community that really builds that sense of community without depending on always trying to lease some space from a school.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, actually, I was with Chuck yesterday, Chuck Copeland, and a lot of you know Chuck, but he's a local minister, but he's also a security officer in the high school. And he was telling me that he's just so frustrated because the counseling resources, the mental health resources they have in the school are not very, I guess one of the counselors just left the high school, and there's so much pressure. And he was saying that he can't remember a time when he sees so many kids that are struggling so much every day. And he said there are issues that we've got to deal with. And he said, I'm not saying they're violence or anything like that. I'm saying anxiety, being upset about things going on at home, being pressure in school. He says just so many things these kids are dealing with that we've got to cope with now, and that we just don't have the resources. So I know it's there, and I know after the pandemic it's probably much stronger than it ever was. So I really think there's an opportunity for us to push this and try to get the school system to make sure our high school has good resources in that area too, not just a good gym and a brand new classrooms. That's all important, but I think that's a very important part of it. So. All right, well, that's good. And, that's one of the things, by the way, and I know you already talked to him a little bit, Ed, but I know Gabe is really focused on that too. He's got a lot of focus on health initiatives. So.
Well, and while we're talking about school council, it would be nice, Link, if we send something to our local school counselors at the two elementary schools, the high school and the middle school. This is National School Counselor Week.
Oh.
And so tomorrow is it's the end of the National School Counselor Week. So even if it's something from Fair Access, something simple that just says, wanted to let you know how much we appreciate the work that you guys do in our community, and that something nice, short, sweet, even if it's an email to the principals, and ask those principals to send it over to their school to share it with their school counselors.
Ed, I think that's a great idea. And I can I can assist with Poolsville Elementary.
Yeah, and maybe too, if you could touch base with some of the other PTA presidents,
I can. Mm-hmm.
them to, just ask, hey, what are you guys doing for the counselors at your school? And even if
Right.
it's just addition of the work that they do, because it's one of the challenges that school counselors have. You look at the ratios of what's recommended is a ratio of 1 to 250 kids, but most counselors, you got 300 something kids on your caseload, and God bless our elementary school folks, because they got a whole school with
Right.
maybe sometimes 1.5. And John,
Yeah, no, I think that's a great I think it's a great idea.
So Ed, are you recommending we send it to the principal or?
yeah, I would say this is the strategy. If we send something, Link, if you were to craft one of those nice, emails you make
Okay,
to the 4 principals,
right.
and just ask them if they could share that with their school counselors, because we just want to acknowledge and honor the work that they do every day, and let them know that we see them.
So I would ask Link if you could craft it, and then Maria, if you could distribute it.
Okay,
Sure.
all right,
Absolutely.
To come from our local PTA people.
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, and I think
Right.
both. If you have our local PTA, but you would want the local PTA, but also what means a lot is when you have folks that represent
The community.
That represent the community in addition
Right.
to because
Yeah, no, I completely agree.
you're
That's why I like the idea, because
Yeah.
we're representative of the Fair Access is representative of the whole community. So
right.
it coming from a larger base, I think speaks better.
I mean, yeah, 'cause
Not just within the school, because it's helping the entire community.
All right, I'll work on that tonight.
all right.
Good idea. Any other thoughts for the good of the order? It's been really a good meeting. I appreciate all the support, and we've got a lot to do, but a lot of positive things too that I think are coming along here. So anything else?
No, I think that's we're good.
All right. Thank you all for joining. Appreciate your input. Thanks.
Thank you all. Appreciate you all's leadership.
All right. See you later.
Thank you all.
Bye. Bye-bye.